Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with random reviews from the Overflow Room. Yeah. Today we actually have a very limited selection from the letter K. Two artists. One a conductor-composer and one a composer-composer. Actually, he was also a conductor too, but mostly composer. First, Paul Kletzki. A really fine conductor who hovered about the catalog of the 50s and 60s, recording for Decca and Warner for the most part. He did some great stuff. He was an early proponent, at least in stereo, of Mahler. Here he is in the Great Conductors of the 20th Century series. What do we get? Well, we get some cool stuff here. We have Berlioz's Benvenuto Cellini Overture, Tchaikovsky 5, a live recording, Schubert's Rosamunde Entr'acte, Dvorak 3 Slavonic Dances, Mendelssohn's Calm Sea and Prosperous Voyage Overture, Brahms' 4th, another live recording, the Wagner Wesendonck-Lieder Träume, arranged for violin, and the Tchaikovsky Capriccio Italien. It's not the most compelling collection of stuff we could have by him, but his Mahler is a different thing, which we will come to shortly, or at least some of his Mahler. You know, he did symphonies, we'll get to that in a minute. Anyway, the orchestras are the Philharmonia, the Royal Phil, Bavarian Radio, French National Radio and Television, or Radio, whatever, Israel Phil, and the Czech Phil. Remember, Kletzki did that fabulous Beethoven cycle with the Czech Phil on Superfon. So let's not forget the man. He was a fine, fine conductor and a composer, which we'll get to momentarily. Now we have the artist profile. The artist profile gives us the Jota Aragonesa from Glinka, Rimsky-Korsakov's Tsar Sultan Suite, Tchaikovsky Andante Cantabile, Sibelius 2. This is a much better twofer than that Great Conductors thing. The Schubert Rosamunde Overture, Mahler 4, with Emmy Luce. It's a very good Mahler 4. And Symphony No. 5, the Adagietto. He also did Das Lied von der Erde, and he recorded Mahler 1 and 9, I believe, with the Israel Phil, both with cuts, which was not a good idea. Those are not good performances. The Israel Phil sounded awful back when he made those records. But anyway, we have these with the Philharmonia and the Royal Phil. Good orchestras, good conducting, wonderful programming. It's terrific. That's a nice disc. Then we've got Kletzki, the composer. Yeah, he was a composer. And some of his symphonies now have shown up on disc, including Symphony No. 3, In Memoriam from 1939. I mean, we know from the date what's going on there, right? He was Jewish, by the way. He lived from 1900 to 1973. It's a 45-minute long symphony, and his concertino for flute and orchestra, which is really charming. It has Sharon Basali, the excellent flutist, the Norrköping Symphony Orchestra under Thomas Sanderling. The third symphony is tough. You might expect it to be tough, but it's also not terribly memorable. Actually, most of his music that I've heard anyway has not been terribly memorable. However, serious in intent, and of course, it was definitely serious in intent. But this is on BIS, and you can give it a shot if you think it will interest you, and then draw your own conclusions. Then we've got Paul von Klenau, Danish composer. Very interesting guy. He spent most of his career in Germany. He was a pupil of Max von Schilling's. It's like, let's say, he was Danish born, but as a young man left his native country to study and work in Germany and Austria. See, I told you. His first symphony was influenced by Bruckner. Well, yes and no. While later influences came from both French music and Schoenberg's 12-tone technique, he never achieved real recognition as a composer in Denmark, but held important conducting posts, for example, at the Wiener Concerthausgesellschaft, and belonged to Alban Berg's Circle of Friends. Yes, he did. So here we've got his first symphony. Now, the first symphony is a 37-minute long, sort of 5-movement, big, hairy, post-romantic. It's fun. It's fun. You like that stuff. It's 8 horns and harps and percussionists. Oh, it's just fun. So that's one thing. We've also got the fifth symphony called Triptychon, which is only 11 minutes and 52 seconds long. It's from 1939, the fateful year, and it is just absolutely void of anything interesting. It is one of the most empty 12 minutes you've ever heard in your life. It's very strange. something odd happened to him. I mean, he was between styles or something. I don't know. And then we've got Paolo and Francesca, symphonic poem, which is Francesca da Rimini. I mean, he was no Tchaikovsky. Let's not kid ourselves. But he was good. He could orchestrate. He could orchestrate in a wonderful late romantic manner. There is another disc, at least one more in this series. Maybe there's more than that, but I have at least two. And one of them is upstairs, which has his Seventh Symphony, which is quite interesting. Really, definitely interesting. And in his 12-tone phase, it was called 12-tone with tonality, which meant it didn't sound 12-tone at all. It sounded tonal, which was fine. So we don't care that it's 12-tone. But he was an intriguing sidelight in the history of music. Let's put it that way. I don't think he's ever going to become a name, but he wrote some good music and some not so good music. This is worth hearing, to give it a shot. The performances are better on that disc with the Seventh Symphony. This one with the Odense Symphony under Jan Wagner, they're not really up to the First Symphony. That requires some real virtuoso chops and a big, huge ensemble sound, and they don't quite have it. And they're not entirely comfortable in the idiom, I think. But it tells you what the music sounds like. I've reviewed those two discs over at ClassicsToday.com. So you can go get more details by looking at those reviews. And there we have it, two interesting K conductor composers, Kletzki and Klenau. And they both begin with KL, which tells you everything you need to know, doesn't it? So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.